Xiaomi is the second largest smartphone manufacturer in the world after Samsung, with over 685 million active users spread across more than 100 countries. By this point, their smartphones and smart devices are an inescapable sight everywhere you go, with over 861 million connected devices in their ecosystem. But what started as a simple software project by a failed entrepreneur would transform into a global tech empire that even knocked Apple off of its number 2 position. This is the crazy truth about Xiaomi. It's early 2000s. China's technological landscape was undergoing a massive transformation. A mobile revolution swept across the country, and finally, 3G licenses were to be issued, while smartphones began shaping the way of life. Internet service companies started all over the country, and China's internet population expanded from 70 million to more than 320 million in just 2 years. Now, to capture this mobile internet wave, entrepreneurs became impulsive, and day by day, hundreds and thousands of startups start to pop up in the bustling city of Beijing. Every major player from BAT, Baidu, Alibaba, Tencent, to small startups were trying to stake their claim in this new digital frontier. That was the world Lei Jun entered in 2007, when he stepped down as CEO of Kingsoft, a software company he'd built over 16 years. Kingsoft, one of China's earliest software companies. Lei Jun managed to take it public, but with a market value of just 5.3 billion Hong Kong dollars. For a company that had been fighting Microsoft for nearly 2 decades, it felt like a hollow victory. And with that, Lei Jun found himself questioning everything. He started coding as a university student, often programming through sleepless nights, and worked his way up from being the 6th employee at Kingsoft to becoming its CEO. But despite his relentless work ethic, sleeping only 4 to 5 hours per day, something wasn't working. While Lei Jun was perfecting every minute detail at Kingsoft, the internet revolution was passing him by. He watched as companies like Tencent and Alibaba, started by younger entrepreneurs, grew explosively. I mean, it took Kingsoft to reach $678 million valuation after 19 years. These new internet companies were becoming worth billions in just a few years. He needed to understand why. So, he became an angel investor, putting money into promising startups like UC Web, Fankey, and Lakala. He watched these companies grow explosively in just a few years, while his 19-year-old Kingsoft had struggled to achieve a fraction of their success. The answer became clear. Timing was everything.
And we are calling it iPhone. Today,
Apple had revolutionized smartphones with its iPhone in 2007. Google had released Android for free. The mobile internet era was about to explode. Giants like Nokia, Motorola, Apple, and Samsung dominated globally, while in China, ZTE, Huawei, Coolpad, and Lenovo controlled the market. Plus, countless knockoff brands were flooding stores. However, there's still one thing that's untapped. At that time, Chinese tech companies were still seen as mere copycats of their Western counterparts. Lei Jun became obsessed with understanding this shift. He made a radical decision to use only mobile phones for internet access, despite how frustrating it was at the time. When he looked more at the smartphone market in China, Lei Jun noticed something fascinating. While companies like Apple were making premium devices that cost a fortune and local manufacturers were churning out low-quality phones, there was nothing in between that offered true quality at an accessible price. There has to be money to be made here, Lei Jun was convinced. But building phones wasn't like writing software. When he started recruiting for his new venture in 2010, he faced brutal reality checks. During one memorable meeting, a senior producer manager from Google named Hong Feng asked him 3 devastating questions that exposed every weakness in his plan. Have you ever made phones before? Do you know China Mobile's CEO? Do you know Terry Gou from Foxconn? The answer to all 3 was a resounding no. No experience, no connections, no manufacturing capability. To most, this would have been the end of the dream. But for Lei Jun, it was just the beginning of what would become one of the most remarkable stories in tech history. Lei Jun was undeterred. He knew that to succeed, he needed to build a strong foundation, and that started with assembling a team of incredibly talented and passionate individuals. He spent 80% of his time recruiting, often talking with potential hires from morning until the early hours of the next morning. He sought out individuals like Lin Bin, a technical genius and phone enthusiast who had served as the deputy director of Google China Engineering Institute. Lin Bin was initially considering starting a music search business, but Lei Jun convinced him to join Xiaomi with the promise of something much bigger. Together, they meticulously identified the talent they needed: experts in operating systems, user interface design, and hardware engineering. On April 6, 2010, this small team officially founded Xiaomi, setting up shop in a modest office in a Zhangyang Sunyanggu building, strategically located between Google, Microsoft, and Kingsoft, prime hunting grounds for future talent. Their journey began with software. Li Wangzheng led the development of MIUI, a deeply customized Android-based mobile operating system designed to address the shortcomings of the native Android experience, particularly for Chinese users. Lei Jun believed that MIUI should be the Wikipedia of mobile operating systems, where everyone could participate. Li Wangzheng, as the project leader, took this idea to heart and built a development team with thousands of Mi users. He tapped into online forums, engaged with passionate phone enthusiasts who were eager to contribute to a better Android experience. On August 16, 2010, just 4 months after Xiaomi's founding, the first version of MIUI ROM was released. It was a risky move, as flashing ROMs could potentially brick a phone. But phone enthusiasts were eager to try it, and the first batch of core users, 10 veteran phone enthusiasts, became MIUI's initial testers. To thank these supporters, a designer named Liang Feng wrote their names on the boot screen with the title, "Thanks to the Brave Gods." This extraordinary sincerity and the excellent user experience helped MIUI spread quickly. The MIUI forum became a hub for users to provide feedback, suggest features, and even contribute to the development process. Product and engineering teams were required to actively engage with users on the forum, ensuring that MIUI was constantly improving based on real-world feedback. While Apple's team updated annually, MIUI could update weekly. This rapid feedback and improvement greatly increased user engagement. These user collaborative updates made MIUI the most highly rated custom system at the time, and built a strong fan base for the Xiaomi team. Before even releasing their first phone, Xiaomi had built a community of 500,000 passionate users through MIUI. This wasn't just a phone company, it was becoming a movement. With MIUI gaining traction and a strong team in place, Lei Jun set his sights on the next challenge: building Xiaomi's first phone. The conventional way to build a tech empire was to drive up prices, pushing the margin of profit up and up. But not for Lei Jun. For this entrepreneur, there was another path entirely in keeping with his background, a path that would shake up the industry altogether. Make the world's best phone and sell it at half the price of Apple. It sounds crazy and seems more like a form of financial suicide. The iPhone 4S was selling for around $800 in China, and local brands were racing to the bottom with cheap knockoffs. Lei Jun's plan to sell a premium phone at just $320 would mean practically zero profit margins. Every business expert said it couldn't work. You simply couldn't build a sustainable company this way. He knew that to succeed, Xiaomi needed to differentiate itself. Rather than flooding the market with dozens of models like other manufacturers, Lei Jun decided to focus on just one phone at a time. This allowed them to concentrate their resources and ensure the highest quality. To further reduce cost, Xiaomi opted to sell its phones exclusively online, cutting out the middleman and passing the savings on to the customer. But perhaps the biggest challenge was securing the necessary components for their phones. Lei Jun insisted on using only the best suppliers, those who provide components for flagship devices from other leading brands. However, many wouldn't even take meetings with Xiaomi. Two touchscreen supplier representatives once lounged dismissively on Lei Jun's office sofa, making it clear no deal would happen. Even makers of basic components like screws, which cost mere pennies, refused to work with this unknown startup. Left with no choice, Lei Jun had to take matters into his own hands. He began personally visiting suppliers, introducing himself with the same humble line every time. "Hello, I'm Lei Jun." He would explain his vision of an internet phone company, how they would integrate hardware, software, and e-commerce, and why Xiaomi phones had a promising future. One of the most challenging suppliers to win over was Sharp, the screen supplier. Sharp, an industry veteran, was initially reluctant to work with a newcomer like Xiaomi. To connect with Sharp, Lei Jun mobilized all his contacts and finally secured a meeting with their executives. But fate had other plans.
Areas remain in ruins after the record 8.9 magnitude quake and the tsunami that followed. Nearly 700 people are confirmed dead so far, and officials say the toll could go over 1,000. As many as 9,500 people are reported missing.
Just before the meeting on March 11, 2011, Japan was hit by a 9.0 magnitude earthquake, triggering the Fukushima nuclear disaster. After much deliberation, Lei Jun's team risked radiation exposure and flew to Japan. On that flight, there were only 3 passengers in the rear cabin: Lei Dun, Lin Bin, and Lei Jun. After 5 hours of intense negotiations, Sharp finally agreed to become Xiaomi's supplier. This was a major victory for Xiaomi, and it had a ripple effect throughout the industry. Other suppliers, seeing that Sharp had confidence in Xiaomi, became more willing to partner with them. Another crucial supplier was Qualcomm, the chipmaker. After significant effort, Xiaomi secured Qualcomm's license agreement and placed a large order for their most advanced processors. With the necessary components in hand, Xiaomi began the challenging task of developing and assembling their first phone. In March 2011, they celebrated a major milestone. The first Xiaomi phone screen was powered on. A month later, they made their first call from the device. The excitement was palpable. They were on track to launch their first phone in just a few months. But just when everything seemed to be falling into place, a crisis struck. In June 2011, Qualcomm released a more advanced dual-core 1.5 GHz processor, instantly making their previous purchases, 1.2 GHz chips, second tier. Xiaomi had already invested over $600,000 in the older chips. This sparked intense internal debate. Use the older chips they paid for, or risk everything on the newest technology? After a moment's consideration, Lei Jun made a decision that would define Xiaomi's future approach. He abandoned the old chips laying in the warehouse and immediately contacted Qualcomm to purchase the new ones. His philosophy was clear. To make a premium phone, you must use the best components. Although expensive materials shouldn't be compromised, and although the manufacturing process is complicated, we must not cut corners on labor. In December 2011, Lei Jun took the stage at Xiaomi's first major launch event. The audience was skeptical. How good could a phone really be at such a low price? But when he revealed the Mi 1 specifications, a dual-core Snapdragon processor, 1 GB of RAM, and a sharp 4-inch display, all matching the iPhone 4S, and that too at a fraction of the price, the crowd went crazy. What happened next would transform not just Xiaomi, but the entire technology industry. The initial batch of 300,000 phones sold out in just 2.5 hours. While their most optimistic projections had suggested selling 300,000 units throughout the product's entire life cycle, they achieved this in less than a day. For Lei Jun, this wasn't just a successful product launch, it was a validation of a vision he'd been nurturing since the Kingsoft days. But phones were just the beginning. While others saw Xiaomi as just another smartphone maker, Lei Jun was quietly orchestrating something far more ambitious. He divided the future of technology into 3 distinct eras. The PC era, where 1 billion devices changed how we work. The mobile era, where phones transformed how we communicate. The AIoT era, where everything around us would become smart and connected. This vision would soon be tested on December 2013, when Lei Jun made a bet that seemed almost delusional to outsiders.
是6年免费服务呢，你敢做6年免费服务吗？如果我做小米空调，我保证7年免费服务。你呀，如果这小米空调像你这种只抓营销，没人买你的空调。
He challenged Dong Mingzhu, the chairwoman of Gree Electric. Xiaomi's revenue would surpass Gree's within 5 years. Without even comparing the revenue, this seemed impossible. Xiaomi still hasn't tapped the market full, while Gree was already a giant in the country. But Lei Jun had a secret weapon, a revolutionary approach to building a technology empire. Instead of trying to do everything themselves, Xiaomi would create an ecosystem of partner companies. They would invest in passionate entrepreneurs, providing them with the Xiaomi platform and brand, but let them maintain their independence. It was like building a federation of startups, all united under the Xiaomi banner. The first test of this model came in 2013 with a seemingly simple product: earphones. Partnering with One More, they created high-quality earphones at breakthrough prices. The success was immediate. But the real game changer came with their next product, the power bank. For the next ecosystem product, Lei Jun set his sights on something seemingly mundane. Lei Jun saw it as a test of Xiaomi's entire philosophy. He turned to an old friend, Zhang Feng, with an ambitious challenge: create the perfect power bank at an impossible price. Zhang Feng approached the task like an obsessed artist. He traveled to 30 different cities, developed nearly 20 different models, all to eliminate the tiniest imperfections. For the core components, only the best would do. Panasonic's top-tier 18650 battery cells. They even installed triple layers of protection, 2 safety chips, and protective software. The attention to detail was extraordinary. When the final product was ready, it cost 70 yuan just to manufacture. Most companies would have priced it at 200 yuan or more, but Lei Jun stayed true to his disruptive philosophy, setting the price at 69 yuan, less than the manufacturing cost. The launch on December 3, 2013, created a market frenzy. First month, 600,000 units. Second month, 1.5 million. By the year's end, they'd sold over 10 million units. The power bank market was effectively split into 2 eras, before and after Xiaomi. But Lei Jun saw something even more valuable than sales numbers. He saw proof that his ecosystem strategy could work beyond phones. In early 2014, he gathered his team to lay out an ambitious vision. On a whiteboard, he drew out what became known as the 1+4+X strategy. 1. Smartphones as the core. 4. Key ecosystem pillars like TVs, routers, speakers, laptops. X. An unlimited universe of smart devices. The model was revolutionary. Instead of trying to control everything, Xiaomi would invest in passionate entrepreneurs who shared their vision. "We invest without controlling, help without interfering," became their mantra. They weren't building a company, they were building an army of innovation. Success stories multiplied rapidly. The Xiaomi air purifier, developed by Xiaomi Technology, sold 31,200 units in a single day. Their reimagined power strip, developed by Xiaomi Technology, moved 100,000 units in 3 months. Each product followed the same formula: premium quality, breakthrough prices, and seamless connectivity. By 2015, Xiaomi had become China's largest smartphone maker and the world's 3rd largest. Their online-only model seemed unstoppable, selling 700 million phones that year. The startup that began with 14 people had grown into a tech giant, valued at $45 billion. But beneath this spectacular success, cracks were beginning to show. The first signs of trouble came from an unexpected direction. In China's smaller cities and rural areas, where internet penetration was low, competitors like Oppo and Vivo were dominating through traditional retail stores. While Xiaomi was selling phones online, these brands were building relationships with local retailers, offering high commissions and aggressive marketing support. When Lei Zheng sent people to research county towns in Nanjing, what they found shocked him. Competitor stores were everywhere, deeply rooted for years. Even more surprising, sometimes 20 stores on one street were owned by the same businesswoman. These retailers were highly skeptical of Xiaomi, citing thin profits and online-only sales. Because they couldn't make money from Xiaomi, they naturally promoted other brands heavily. The numbers told a brutal story. Over 80% of Chinese users were buying phones offline, while Xiaomi's proud e-commerce channel represented less than 1/5 of the market. As online traffic dividends gradually dried up, offline channels could directly determine a brand's survival. But the offline challenge was just the beginning. Inside Xiaomi, organizational chaos was brewing. The company had 8 separate phone departments working in silos. Their hardware team, remarkably small with only 30 people, was struggling to maintain quality. Supply problems mounted, including Samsung cutting off screen supply. Making matters worse, excessive advertisement on MIUI was damaging their reputation among users. In 2016, the situation became dire. Shipments dropped 36% to 41.5 million units, pushing Xiaomi down to 5th place. Their attempts to enter the high-end market with Mi Note had failed. The Mi 5's launch was delayed due to the supply chain problems. Lei Zheng's revolutionary internet-focused, flat management structure that had seemed so brilliant in the beginning was now showing its limitations as the organization grew. Faced with these numerous complex problems, Lei Zheng quickly moved to transform the organization. In September 2015, he hurriedly began offline expansion, opening the first Mi Home retail store in Beijing. But having started too late, Xiaomi faced significant challenges. The situation seemed impossible. Oppo, Vivo were offering retailers up to 25% profit margins, while Xiaomi could only offer 2 to 5%. With high rent and labor costs, how could physical stores survive on such thin margins? More importantly, how could they maintain the same prices both online and offline while making phones available in physical stores? The solution came from an unexpected source: Xiaomi's growing ecosystem of products. While competitors could only display phones, Mi Home stores became smart home experience centers, showcasing everything from rice cookers to air purifiers. Statistics show that Mi Home products had a 2 to 3% attachment rate, meaning each customer bought 2 to 3 products. This diverse product range helped spread cost and improve store profitability. In just over a year, by the end of 2016, Xiaomi's offline sales accounted for 24.8% of total sales. But Lei Zheng knew retail was just one piece of the puzzle. He implemented difficult reforms across R&D, supply chain, and other developments. The company that had prided itself on being different from traditional manufacturers was now learning painful lessons about the basics of manufacturing. In 2017, something extraordinary happened. Phone sales reached 91.4 million units, with revenue hitting 114.6 billion yuan, a 67.5% increase from the previous year. Xiaomi wasn't just emerging from their dark period, they were becoming the fastest growing internet company in the world. But Lei Zheng knew that their revival was about more than just phones. Their ecosystem strategy was gaining unprecedented momentum. Xiaomi was no longer just a phone company. It was becoming a tech ecosystem, a universe of interconnected devices that seamlessly integrated into every aspect of life. Lei Zheng faced a new challenge. He worried that the pressure to maximize profits after going public would force them to abandon their commitment to affordable prices, a core tenet that had fueled their remarkable growth. To prevent this, Lei Jun made a bold move. He proposed to shareholders that they legally limit Xiaomi's profit margins on hardware to a mere 5%. This was practically unheard of in the tech industry, where companies typically aimed for a much higher profit margin, often exceeding 20% or even 30%. The shareholders were initially resistant, sparking heated debates and tense negotiations. But Lei Jun's persistence and unwavering belief in this vision eventually won them over. They agreed to cap profit margins, ensuring that Xiaomi could continue to offer its products at incredibly competitive prices, a key factor into their appeal to customers. In 2019, despite facing setbacks in the smartphone market and losing the 5-year bet with Gree Electric, whose revenue reached 198 billion yuan, compared to Xiaomi's 174.9 billion yuan, Xiaomi achieved a major milestone. They made their debut on the Fortune Global 500 list, ranking 468th and becoming the youngest company to ever join the prestigious ranking. Lei Jun's vision was being realized. Xiaomi had evolved from a small startup with 14 employees into a global tech giant, boasting a diverse portfolio of products and a massive ecosystem of connected devices.
Waning days, Trump administration has imposed sanctions on 9 Chinese firms with alleged ties to Chinese military. The Trump administration has added mobile phone maker Xiaomi and plane maker Comac to the.
接到了一个朋友的电话，他说：“雷总，你们被美国制裁了。”那一下子，有如晴天霹雳，我马上就懵了。我们很快呢就召开了紧急的董事会，商量如何应对。就在这个董事会上，有一个董事问：“假如你们手机不能做了，你们3、4万人怎么办？”有一个董事就建议我说：“你们要不要认真考虑一下造车？”
To mitigate the risk of blacklisting, Lei Jun realized that diversifying into electric vehicles would reduce their dependence on the smartphone market and ensure their future in a rapidly changing geopolitical landscape. Lei Jun, ever the relentless entrepreneur, assembled a team of experts and embarked on a crash course in car development. He personally test drove over 170 cars, visited dealerships, and even obtained a racing license. He immersed himself in every aspect of the automotive world to gain a deep understanding of the industry and the needs of drivers. He also insisted on building Xiaomi's car from the ground up, focusing on core technologies like autonomous driving, LiDAR, and electric motors. He refused to take shortcuts, drawing lessons from Xiaomi's previous struggles with relying too heavily on external partners. In December 2023, Xiaomi unveiled its first electric car, the Xiaomi SU7. The response was initially mixed, with many skeptics doubting Xiaomi's ability to succeed on such a competitive market, especially given their lack of experience in car manufacturing. But Lei Jun once again proved them wrong. The SU7, with its impressive specifications, sleek design, and competitive price of 215,900 yuan, generated massive pre-orders, exceeding even Xiaomi's own expectations. Within 24 hours of its launch, the SU7 had garnered nearly 90,000 orders, a remarkable achievement for a new entrant in the EV market. Lei Jun had once again demonstrated his ability to disrupt an industry and deliver exceptional value to consumers, solidifying his reputation as a visionary leader and a god of marketing. With the success of the SU7, Xiaomi had completed its ecosystem puzzle. They had created a vast technological universe, seamlessly connecting people, cars, and homes through their innovative products and services. In just 13 years, Xiaomi had transformed from a small startup into a global tech powerhouse. They had defied expectations, overcome challenges, and consistently delivered on their promise of innovation for everyone.
我也是到了40才明白啊，努力不是万能的，所以千万别钻牛角尖。眼里有光的人是不会精神内耗的。如果实在撑不住， 其实躺会没关系的，躺一躺也不丢人。我第一次躺的时候就躺了半年多，不要死磕，要顺势而为。最近几年，不少人都特别的焦虑，特别的迷茫。很多人问我，在时代变迁的洪流中，怎么才能保持内心的平静呢？我的答案很简单，就是成长。只有脚踏实地的成长，才有足够的自信、勇气与决心去迎接所有未知的挑战。人生是一场马拉松，一时的成败得失都不那么重要，所有的人生难题都将在成长中找到答案。